Okay, so we'll start from the place we left. अभी हमने इंटरव्यू कर लिया था. We did our interview. So we were doing our observation. Okay. So observation. What actually is observation? When you have to see observation क्या है? Observation is a method of data collection where you want to see things in the natural setting primarily. नेचुरल सेटिंग में कोई फिनोमेना हो रहा है, यू आर पार्ट ऑफ इट एज अ पार्टिसिपेंट और नॉन पार्टिसिपेंट. आइदर यू पार्टिसिपेट इट, दैट इज यू आर पार्ट ऑफ द ग्रुप which is being observed, or you are not part of the group. In both the ways you are recording the behavior, recording the behavioral dimensions of the subjects who are part of the study. This is called observation. क्या चीजें हैं यहाँ पे? What are the specific things which is putting it separate? Specific aspect of it is, first is your systematic and largely uncontrolled. और ये इसकी खूबी है. एक तो ये सिस्टमेटिक है और लार्जली अनकंट्रोल्ड. सिस्टमेटिक क्या हो रहा है यहाँ पे? डेटा कलेक्शन. डेटा कलेक्शन, रिकॉर्डिंग ऑफ द बिहेवियर इज बीइंग डन इन अ सिस्टमेटिक मैनर. कोई कैमरा लगा है या फिर लोग ऑब्जर्व कर रहे हैं, नोटिंग डाउन ईच एंड एवरीथिंग. सिस्टमेटिक. सेकेंडली व्हाट इज हैपनिंग इज इट इज completely uncontrolled. Completely uncontrolled natural setting, so its ecological validity will be really high. Ecological validity की जब हम बात करते हैं, when we talk about ecological validity, what does it mean? When we say ये हमने स्टडी किया, we did this study. Why this study is pure study? The purity of study, the fidelity of the study will be defined by the fact that whether it was done in a natural setting or the lab setting. हम जब क्वेश्चन आपके आते हैं, सॉरी, लैब वर्सेस फील्ड. लैब वर्सेस फील्ड, व्हाट इज द डिफरेंस? द फील्ड एक्सपेरिमेंट इज बीइंग डन इन अ नेचुरल सेटिंग. द लैब एक्सपेरिमेंट हैज आर्टिफिशियलिटी primarily. Now this artificiality is bringing down its ecological validity, whereas the field experiment being done in a naturalistic setting will increase its ecological validity. And that is why the observation method is helpful when we are supposed to have a naturalistic setting, when we want to increase our ecological validity. Alright, so merits of this observation method is merit. First merit is the data is being collected systematically. Systematic data collection, and that is why high ecological validity. Systematic data collection and high systematic data collection and high ecological validity. This is the one point I have explained it. Second thing is the interactions and patterns. Various interaction and patterns can be observed. What does it mean? We are studying a simple observation. Suppose a village near your sea observes rising phenomena of PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, after the occurrence of tsunami. Now we are seeing a village, observing a village and observing the PTSD phenomena, post-traumatic stress disorder, among its villagers, among its subjects from a particular point of view. Now, what about the various patterns and interactions? We observe certain things like people suffering from nightmares, night terrors. There are people who can't sleep well because when they go to sleep, they are terrorized by the images, the visual images which they have of the recent happenings which were there, like tsunami. A night full of terror is a summary of their sleep. Some of them also suffer from delusion, illusion, hallucination. Firstly, they are in the denial mode that this did not occur. Then it sets down. Their self confidence is very less. They stop interacting with the people in the social setting. Leading to lowering of self esteem. And delusion. This happens. So we saw one pattern, but with the same pattern, we can extrapolate, we can think of different interactions and extrapolations, permutations, combinations from the same pattern can be achieved just by sitting with the data, seeing how many people are observing these phenomena. We can do these extrapolations as well. It will help in the research further. This is another merit. What are the demerits here? The biggest demerit is that when you are observing something and you are the researcher, you will carry your biases to the research. The demerit being the biases of the researcher will be observant in the research factor. Biases. The researcher will be showing biases. These biases will be part of the research, which we don't want to have because our research should be bias free, error free, external variance free, having highest level of data manipulation so that we can generalize the recordings easily. This is the main aim. So these biases will affect the result that we don't want to have. Then what the other factor? The other factor is that there is visibly no control or limited control. Limited control of the researcher or observer. This has merits because if it is there is no control of the researcher, then the ecological validity will be really high. But if you cannot even control the external variance, the external variable, will that affect the reliability of the research? The answer is yes, because you don't know whether we have IVDV kind of situation or not. Independent variable being manipulated resulting into dependent variable. Can we have cause and effect objective relationship? Can we generalize it further? The answer is no, because we cannot control the external variable and variance. That is the biggest demerit. Moving further, we have covered our interview and observation. Now comes your questionnaire or survey. Questionnaires and survey are like opinion polls, market research. When you are going to launch a product in your market, You have to do a research. You have to see, gauge the viewpoint of your audience, the clients. What do they want? So, to ensure that we have a large scale data, when we say data, what does it mean? Opinion, attitude, belief about a particular topic in a limited period of time in an efficient manner. We float the survey or questionnaire, either physically presenting our questionnaire to the subjects or floating it on internet. Nowadays, the social media being a tool, you can also see when you look at the YouTube, if you have premium or otherwise, you will look at when you are watching some series, there are certain ads, and within those ads, you will have some ads, advertisements. From where did you come to know about the Kellogg's? These kind of questions. There will be options 1, 2, 3, 4. What do you think about it? So this is your survey. Survey is an efficient method to reach to largest amount of population in a very limited period of time, utilizing your optimal resources, but the output is really high. But then again, it depends on the kind of study which you are doing. You cannot have a survey because there are certain demerits of it. We'll see. There are certain blocks. People won't answer. People will have response biases. People will not respond to your question. Firstly, they will not respond. If they respond, they will respond in a way so that they want to portray themselves in a good light. The social desirability, to ensure that there is social desirability, they will also always portray themselves, their attitudes in a positive manner. Although they might be having hidden or negative attitude, they won't show it. This is one problem. And then you cannot go into great details and depths when you are doing your questionnaire and survey, because if the questions are broken into minute details, people will lose interest. They will not answer your questions. This is very important to note, that whenever you are doing a survey, the question should be simple and you can go up to an optimum depth only. You cannot probe into the ultimate depth or what is possible in a case study. Suppose you are doing a case study, one particular person, Sigmund Freud, did with Anna Freud. So Sigmund Freud or any psychoanalytic theorist or therapist will study a particular subject using the method of case study, going into great details and depths of observation. But when it comes to questionnaire and survey, your details are limited. This is very limiting. Then there are certain merits also. As I've already told you, the efficiency of the method is really high. In limited period of time with limited resources, you can reach to large number of people. And the thing is that if you have to look at the quantitative approach, if you want to know what about the IQ of the aspirants who are preparing for IAS examination, just a general survey will give you a faint idea, and not actually faint. If you have gone to the largest amount of sample, you will have very good idea about the IQ, average IQ of the civil services aspirant. This is one merit. So questionnaire survey, when we go to the merits and demerits, look at the merit. What is the merit? The biggest merit, it is efficient. When we say efficient, time, energy, resources, all are least utilized, whereas the output being the highest if we compare it with the interview, case study, observation. Efficiency is highest. Then the next merit is that it is quantitative as well as qualitative. This thing separates the method of survey questionnaire from other methods, because if you utilize this method, you have the leverage to not only ask the qualitative questions, the opinion, attitude, belief of the persons who are participating in the survey, but you can also reach to zoom down to the quantitative approach of the person. You will have the quantitative idea. The merit, the demerits. What are the demerits? We have already summarized it. First is your response bias. When people are responding to your question, they will definitely show their biases. Firstly, there may be people who will not respond at all. They will refrain from responding. There will be response biases. Then we have already discussed the depth of the study is really limited. That may not suffice certain studies. So, methods of data collection, tools of data collection covered in these. You just understand the essence, remember these points, you'll be able to produce your answer. Depending upon the tone of the question, just manage your answer, you will get much better idea. Okay, so apart from your these chapters, these topics which we are supposed to do, the last class we were left with one topic which is called grounded theory, GT. Grounded theory is a qualitative method. Grounded theory approach, focus group we had done, brainstorming we had done. Grounded theory is also mentioned in your syllabus. Many questions have been asked from grounded theory, largely checking your concepts, largely checking your understanding and application of grounded theory. Grounded theory is not a big thing. Firstly, it is a qualitative method. That means that when we are supposed to measure the attitude, belief, opinion of subjects, grounded theory is utilized. Then, second thing is here we don't go with the notion. There is no particular hypothesis or a theory which is utilized to search for the data. Rather, it's a reverse engineering approach in which we are looking from data to theory. It moves from data to theory. This movement, this is the way. From data to codes to theory, these are the steps we must know. The data. What is the data? When you go and see the attitude, belief, opinion of the subjects who are part of your study. Firstly, it's a qualitative study. In the qualitative study, what we do? Generally, we solve the issues of society. Like as we have taken the example of cleanliness in your society. This is the problem. So, to solve the problem, we will not go with a certain hypothesis that Swachh Bharat approach can be utilized here as well. No, what we will do, we will collect the data, the attitude, opinion, belief of each and every aspirant, each and every participant of the group. What do they think about it? What is their way? All these data will be recorded. The attitudes, opinion and belief. Attitude, opinion, belief. These will all be clubbed into codes. Data to codes. What are these codes? They show the interaction between these different responses. They will give you the codes. And from the codes, a theory will be reached. This is a tentative theory, kind of an assumption, kind of an hypothesis, not a final theory. This overall process is really complex. When what we follow is your open coding, axial coding, and selective coding. What's happening in open coding? All the responses are collected, all responses collected. Out of these responses, the interactions between these responses are analyzed in the next step, which is called axial coding. Finally, only a few factors, just a few factors are kept as the final analysis. This is called your selective coding. Final nail on the coffin, this selective coding. What is happening overall is your theory is actually grounded in the data. That's how it operates. Your questions are also focused onto this fact that they are asking theory is grounded in the data, from data to theory. It is an inductive approach. Okay, so what you remember is it's an inductive approach, qualitative approach, and it helps you develop theories, novel ideas when you are not using your preconceived notions. And the researcher does not need to go and look for the evidence for certain theories, but the researcher can go with the open mind. For the grounded theory approach, the researcher will go to the field in an open-minded approach without having any preconceived notion, any hypothesis or theory in mind. The researcher will collect data, see the interaction of the responses, then after the interaction of the responses are recorded, certain codes only, certain factors only are selected, finally selected, to bring simplification, to ensure that generalization can be achieved. This is done. Open coding, axial coding, selective coding. Only three things you have to remember. Largely, you may be asked to apply this grounded theory approach. We will see this in your test 2, test number 2, and it is conducted, that how it can be applied. Okay, with this we'll end this session, and the other aspects of research methods chapter will be taken up later, RM chapter, and measurement of individual differences which is there in the paper 2. Then once we are done with this, we'll be combining various chapters and finishing our psychology portion as promised in 45 days. Within that, the tests will also be conducted. Some scripts are still to be evaluated, will be sent to you. Just jot down your weaknesses, try to improve upon that. As far as content part is concerned, again I am saying you must have limited content, authentic limited content. Keep studying that again and again, revise it, prepare 4 questions out of 5 which we are supposed to answer in the main examination. 4 of them should be very well prepared. You should have pre-cooked fodder so that you can go and present it. The one question you can just simply spontaneously respond to. Thank you very much for joining. We'll see you again in the next class.